Welcome to Module 5. This module introduces us to the idea of writing a scholarly introduction to prepare the reader for your research study proposal. By now, you should have decided on a topic of study, a methodology for your study, and did a preliminary search for a review of literature out there on your topic. Now you're ready to design your study. In Chapter 5, you will learn the 5 components of a good introduction. It's important to note that your introduction is of the utmost importance because it is literally your chance to make a first impression on the reader. I have to confess that I often write my introductions last. This is largely because I have the most trouble getting started. So just know that it doesn't matter the order in which you write your proposal, just as long as the ideas flow naturally from one to the next. As I said before, introductions are very important in presenting your research proposal to the reader for the first time. The introduction establishes the issue or the concern that's leading the research problem by giving some background information about that problem. Your introduction should spark an interest in the reader, though you have to be really careful to use a scholarly tone. We don't want your introduction to read like a TMZ article. Be sure that you place the research study in a larger context and explain how your study could add to the broader scope of your topic. Remember that your introduction is geared toward a certain audience. You want scholars to read your paper who are interested in your topic, but it shouldn't be so difficult to read that the general public cannot understand it. All research proposals, as well as most journal articles, require that you include an abstract of the study. This abstract is really just a brief summary of the contents of your study, and it allows the reader to quickly survey the elements of your research project to determine if it is actually of interest to them. Your abstract should include things like your statement of the problem, the purpose behind your research, what data will be collected and how you will collect it, the results of your study, as well as how these results lead to implications for future practice. Depending on the type of research approach that you hope to use, there are different ways to approach the abstract of the study. Qualitative introductions describe a research problem that is best understood by exploring a concept or a phenomenon. This is because qualitative research discusses the why things are the way they are. Quantitative research introductions address the research problem by understanding the factors or the variables and how they influence the outcome. This is largely because quantitative research deals with the what. Mixed methods introductions use either the qualitative or the quantitative approach, since really they're just a mixture of both methods. To give you an example, let's talk for a moment about an introduction that focuses on deficiencies in the current research. Basically, this means that you're researching a topic because you have found there's a lack of research in one particular area of that topic. In this case, you would state your research problem, review the studies that have addressed the issue briefly, indicate where deficiencies lie in this past research, and explain why this research is significant to a particular audience. Remember to state the purpose of your research explicitly. This method is used when you want to establish a justified reason for conducting research on a topic that may have already been well researched in some aspects, but lacks in others. So in the deficiency model example, we mentioned that you would begin by stating the research problem. In order to do this, you would want to start with an opening sentence that's going to stir reader interest, but still appeal to audiences who don't even know they're interested yet. There will be people who deliberately are looking for research on your topic when they search for your study, but there are going to be others who just happen to stumble upon it. So plan for both. Refrain from using quotations to start out your research problem. Also try to stay away from cliches or idiomatic expressions. You want to make sure you clearly identify the research problem that led up to your choosing to conduct this study. Why is this problem important? This can't be just your opinion. You're going to need citations to back you up on this. Make sure to frame your problem statement in a way that agrees with your research approach. Also, think about whether this is just one research problem or if there are multiple problems that are contained within the one. After you've clearly established the research problem in the introduction of your research proposal, you will next want to review past studies that have addressed this issue. This is not a comprehensive literature review at this point. This is simply a few studies that you've looked at on the same topic. Basically, you want the reader to know that you've done your research and this topic is valid. There should be no discussion of individual studies in this portion. You're merely providing an overview of what multiple researchers have found on your topic. This literature review will be covered in a whole separate section. After you've listed your research problem and back this up with some past literature, you can then point out deficiencies in the past literature. These deficiencies may exist because the topic has not been fully explored as of yet. This is very typical of emerging theories or new technologies, even new programs that are just rolling out. The deficiencies may also exist because the research needs to be replicated to see if it yields the same results. Remember that it's acceptable to do something that's been done before, because if you're checking for consistent results, that's a completely logical reason. Lastly, the voices of underrepresented groups may not have been published in the literature, leading to a deficiency. Perhaps a topic has been explored, but a group has been left out of this research. What a great idea to bring that group to light. Finally, the last part of your introduction should include why the study is significant. This could include 3 or 4 reasons that your study will add to the scholarly research in the field. It could also include reasons why the study will help the practice, or reasons why it will improve policy or even decision making. I'll leave you with this. The introduction of your research proposal can prove to be challenging to write because you want to make a great first impression. However, focusing on that research problem, a summary of literature out there on that problem, deficiencies in research that create a need for your own, and a focus on why the study would be important really is the key. Use these guidelines to help create an introduction that draws in the reader and sets the tone for the rest of your proposal.